In the last video, we looked at two of Tableau's bucketing options, sets and groups. In this video, we'll look at a third method called bins. We'll also build box and whisker chart. Bins are a special type of bucket for grouping numerical data into equally sized intervals. These are very useful for creating histograms or reducing noise within our visualization. On our dashboard, we have a distribution of discount rate by the customer's order number, which shows that, say, a customer's first 5 orders have a median discount approximately the same as the rest of their orders. And even the quartiles don't seem to move significantly higher or lower with multiple orders. This would help the audience understand that we're not rewarding repeat customers with higher discounts, for better or for worse. So, to create this, let's first make a new sheet. Then we'll right-click on Cumulative Orders for Customer, and click Create Bin. We can have Tableau load the range of values here and get an idea what can be bucketed. And it's telling us we have values between 1 and 26, and it's recommended a size of bin for us here. Let's go ahead and set the size of bin to 5. One thing to note is that even though our data starts at 1, Tableau's buckets start at 0. So the first bin will contain the values between 0 and 4.999, while the second bin will have from 5 up to but not including 10, and so on. While bins might work in many cases, this isn't going to work for us since it's only grouping the first 4 orders, orders 1 through 4, in the first bucket, and then grouping orders 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, the next 5 orders, in the next bucket. We want equally sized buckets based on our data. So we can work around this by using a calculated field that will return our desired bins instead of using Tableau's bins. Let's create a calculated field called Cumulative Orders for Customer. And then I'm going to put in parentheses bin using case, because we're going to try it another way in a minute. So this is a case statement that's going to assign a label, 1 through 5, for each individual potential case of order sequence for our customers. So if the order is in the first 5 orders, it's going to get the label 1 through 5. If it's in the next 5, it'll get the label 6 through 10, all the way up to 21 plus. So this is a bit tedious to type out, and if you really needed to do it this way for 50 or more values, it probably makes sense to put together a concatenation function in Excel and then copy-paste that in here. However, what if a customer gets up to order number 200 or 1,000 and we don't have that accounted for? So instead of using this case formula, which might work fine in many other cases, let's formulaically build a label that gives us the range, not just the first and last number. So we'll cancel this, and we'll create a new field. And take a deep breath, because here we go. I always find it easiest to build complex calculations by working from the inside out. That is, to follow the order of operations that I want to happen, instead of necessarily writing the formula from left to right. So let's call this Cumulative Orders for Customer Bins using int. So we'll first take our cumulative orders number and subtract 1 from it. Then we'll divide this quantity by 5. That's our bin size. So this will turn a 1 into a 0, a 3 into 0.4, 5 into 0.8, etc. So then we'll use the int function on this, which essentially rounds it down to the nearest lower integer. So that will turn out to be 0 for our orders between 1 and 5, and 1 for our orders between 6 and 10. Then we need to multiply that value by 5. And then to that result, let's add 1. This will return a 1 for anything between 1 and 5, and a 6 for anything between 6 and 10. We can test that out now by hitting OK. Let's drag cumulative orders to rows, and then our new field, Cumulative Orders for Customer using int, to the rows as well. And let's switch this to a discrete measure and use average. So So it always take itself, essentially. So when we give it a 1, it returns a 1. When we give it a 2, the field returns a 1, all the way up to 5. And then from 6 through 10, it returns a 6. 11 to 15, it returns 11. So this is returning the first number in the group that we want. And you can see if we went up to a very high number, this would still keep working, even though we don't have necessarily a planned case for it. So far so good, but instead of just a 6, we want it to return a string that says 6 through 10, or 11 through 15. That way we can really inform the audience exactly what they're looking at. So let's keep going. We'll right-click Edit this field. And now that we have our starting number, let's convert it to a string. So we'll take the string function, str, and take the string of that number, which will just be the text of that number, and concatenate a hyphen to it. So the plus sign is just concatenation. We want to concatenate the string, which is just the hyphen. And then we want to concatenate something else, the ending number. So let's copy this first portion and paste it below. So right now this would return 1 to 1, or 6 to 6, but we want it to return 1 to 5, or 6 to 10. So instead of adding 1 at the end, we want to add 5. So now this will return 1 to 5, or 6 to 10. Let's hit apply and test it out. So this is no longer a number, which is why this turned red. It's now a string. You should be able to find it up here in our cumulative orders. So let's remove it from this viz. We'll use it from our dimensions. So now for 1 through 5, we have 1 to 5. 6 through 10, we have 6 to 10. Perfect. So now you've seen a few ways you can make your own groupings in Tableau using calculated fields and bins. Let's now take this calculated field and use it to make our box and whisker plot to show a distribution. Let's go ahead and clear the sheet. And we'll start by dragging our field out to the column shelf. Then we'll drag weighted discount out to our rows. And finally order ID to the detail. Let's switch the mark types to circle. And we'll use the color to drop our transparency down a lot lower. We can now see the pretty even distribution across repeat order buckets, but we can do better to make that distribution more obvious. Let's add a reference line called the box plot to show the distribution into quartiles. Right-click on the axis, choose Add Reference Line, and Box Plot. We can leave the rest of the settings at their default value and hit Apply. So Tableau has drawn a helpful overlay to show us the exact distribution of our discount rates. We could actually drop the transparency to show a little bit more color through there. So in this video, we've used bins to group the data into even-sized chunks and even highlight frequency like in a histogram. Bins, like sets and groups, are quick and easy to implement, but can be inflexible if you need more control. So don't be afraid to use a calculated field to achieve what you need. Box and whisker charts are used to depict distribution, including median and quartiles. So now that we've successfully created a distribution chart, in the next video we'll use a simple scatter plot with annotation to highlight potential areas to investigate.